Jamie Dimon is right here, so let's get straight into it, Jamie. Margaret just mentioned it. Yesterday, Nicolas Sarkozy had some harsh words for you, and I heard that a couple of weeks ago, you and the Bundesbank president, Axel Weber, had it out. Why are you at war with the Europeans?
Oh, I'm definitely not at war. And I think the president of France had words. It wasn't for me. He had his words about banks and the financial system, and it wasn't a give and take. I just spoke about policy is important, which I don't think he disagreed with. So. And I didn't have it out with Axel Weber.
But what is it, though, that it seems, and I've heard this from several people here in Davos, what is it about the European regulators that, in particular, some of the American banks have issues with?
Yeah, no, so it's not about the regulators. It's not an issue of the regulators. It's just about getting regulation right's important. So we've never been a bank that said no regulation. We've always said let's have good regulation. This crisis proved that there needs to be more intelligent regulation. So one of the only points I have been making fairly consistently is there's a lot of capital in the system. I think that Basel III, 7% is plenty. As a matter of fact, I think when the banks go through the stress test, it'll prove that it's plenty, because that's what capital's for, is to handle stress if you have proper liquidity. We support resolution authority. We support standardized derivatives. We just want to get it right, get it finished. And the regulators have to do their job. We're not complaining with that at all. We have to be part of the dialogue to make sure it gets done right.
Okay, let's talk about capital for a moment. U.S. banks underwent one stress test. Many of them recapitalized, and another stress test is coming.
Right.
Europeans have had a stress test. Nobody bought the idea of the results, and they're going to have another one too, but they didn't raise capital. What if there's a major restructuring of European sovereign debt? Can the European banking system survive it?
I can't answer that question because I don't have an inside look at all the books of the banks. But my guess is a lot of the banks will be fine. And remember, the European banks went through, the ones who are still around, remember a lot of them are on life support or not around, they went through the biggest stress of all time, and they're still here. And they have more capital, not less capital. And now they have an additional issue to deal with the sovereign crisis. But, particularly here, when you listen to, the political leaders, they are devoted to fixing this problem. And I kind of believe them. I'll take them with a word on that one.
Is the European sovereign debt crisis the biggest systemic risk out there today?
No, I think it's one of them. I think the biggest one is fiscal deficits in total. And I'm not talking about just the United States in total, that governments have to show the will to make sure we get those under control, because, the market, you don't want to get them under control by the markets the wrong way. We should make intelligent decisions to do that now. And I think, and even in Europe, what you see is a lot of people making tough decisions. I think it's hard. I don't think it's easy for these things to extend what in effect is their Social Security or pension plan. So I think you're starting to see people do what they need to do.
The Treasury Secretary was talking about it today, trying to deliver the message to Davos effectively that the U.S. is taking the deficit situation seriously. But with a deficit approaching $1.5 trillion every year, at some point the market has to respond. I mean, how long do you think Treasury yields can remain this low with that problem looming in the future?
Well, I've always been a little worried about that, but here's what I'd say. First of all, we can handle the $1.5 trillion. It's handling it for as far as I can see that becomes the problem. And you saw this Erskine Ball's report about cutting deficits. I mean, if I could push a button and take that report, I would, even though I don't agree with everything in it, because it shows a clear way to get to where we need to be, and they don't even tackle all the major problems. So, and I think it was 10 of 14 people voted for it, or whatever the number was. So it's doable. It's going to, and I think it's going to take both parties. I mean, we need to show fiscal discipline for ourselves, and it's going to take everyone to, both parties figure out how to do it right.
When you say you've always been a little bit worried about it, and I presume you're talking about the deficits and obviously the relationship between deficits and the bond market.
Right.
Are you more worried about it now than you were before? Though you're more worried about it now than you were 6 months ago.
No, I think the governments did the right thing to try to get out of this crisis, and they took some drastic actions, and it created some of this deficit. And it's hard to say, well, you shouldn't have fixed the crisis. But now this is kind of the after, it's kind of like the effect of the drugs afterwards. There's an after effect, and so now we have to fix this. And the best thing of all would be real growth. Unemployment starts to come down. Inflation goes up a little bit. The bond rates can go up, but no one's going to mind if bond rates go up 100, 200 basis points if we have active growth, a strong economy, we're vibrant and healthy, and you see the deficit starting to go down over time.
So, on that note, is U.S. economic policy on the right track?
I think when it comes to the deficit, we don't have a policy yet, other than statements of determination. But I think on a lot of other things, America's moved pretty quickly to get on the right track.
The president has a new economic team. Obviously, Tim Geithner is still there, but Paul Volcker is out, Christina Romer is out. Will Austin Goolsbee and Gene Sperling do a better job?
I don't know better. I think the world of Austin and Gene. I think Tim Geithner's done a great job. And they have different issues to face. So I don't think it's either or. I mean, I think it's in all of our benefit they do a good job. And, we at JPMorgan do anything we can to help them do a good job. So we really would like to see, for the sake of the citizens of the country, to show jobs. As a matter of fact, I should point out, JPMorgan hired net in the United States 8,000 people last year.
8,000.
8,000.
What about this year?
I think I don't know the number, but my guess is a couple thousand.
A couple thousand people. Yeah. Has the president, in your mind, truly embraced the business community in a way that he didn't during his first 2 years, or is some of this window dressing?
It's more than window dressing, because I think the rhetoric has completely changed. I think that's important too for confidence. I forgot who said it at the meeting here, that confidence is really important for growth, and it's free. So we should remember that. But I think they've also changed some of the team. I think Bill Daly obviously he's a friend, and a great loss for JPMorgan, a great win for the United States government. He's pragmatic, he's smart, he's knowledgeable. He'll do what's right for the country, and so I think it's more than rhetoric, and we'll see. All
right, Jamie, thanks for joining us here at the World Economic Forum. Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JPMorgan Chase. Margaret, back to you in New York City.